Well, good morning, fellow motorcyclists. If you watched my previous videos, you'll know that I've got, here at Slick Enterprises, we've got this exciting new project. The boffins and the technical department are absolutely over the moon over having this project to try to sort out. And it's a Lexmoto Venom 125cc. It's a 2016 carburetted bike in really good cosmetic condition, but it is electrically completely dead. It was registered in September 2016 and it needed its first MOT 3 years later in 2019 and didn't have it. So for anybody non-UK resident watching this video, in Britain the first 3 years of any vehicle you just run it. But after 3 years, it requires an annual safety check called an MOT, Ministry of Transport. So you have to pay and then take the vehicle in and it's checked for brakes, lights, steering, wheel bearings, that sort of thing. Well, this one's never had an MOT, so I'm assuming it stopped working at some point during the first 3 years of its life. And it's been kept inside, that's obvious because it's not rusty, not excessively so. So electrically completely dead. So my mate Danny, who's there taking pictures of it, went to Bradford in Yorkshire to pick it up with my trusty pickup truck, brought it back to Slick Central, and it needs a few things doing to it, and I'll do it in a little video series. If I can't get it running, I will say, look, it's beyond me. I'm not one of these people on YouTube videos that make out I'm the font of all wisdom and incredible feats of engineering. If I can't get it going, I'll say, look, I'm messed up. I hope everybody watching my little channel realises that. But fingers crossed, I did it with the Yamaha Diversion that hadn't run for 5 years. So I'm hoping I can get this going. And it is a carburetted one, which makes life a bit easier, I think, compared to fuel injection. So there it is, electrically dead. And the person who sold it said it needs a new battery. Well, it needs quite a bit more than that, which I'll detail in a series of videos, as I say. So got it back and thought, let's have a look at the ignition lock. Well, watch this.
See, that's when you, and then if I touch it, look, it goes off. So it's definitely that, watch. That's what I noticed earlier, the flashing. There you are.
So there it is. I mean, you can see that it's the lock, it's the main ignition barrel. So took it into the technical team and they started on it. There it is. So little fairing off, it's only a couple of bolts, and got the clocks dangling and the front fairing dangling in order to get at the main ignition barrel there. Now on eBay they're 30 quid, 35 quid for a full lock set. You get a petrol cap, seat lock, main ignition barrel. But, I'd rather try and fix it if I can. So I took the actual ignition lock off. Now I've done fixed these locks before on, old classic bikes like the Yamaha 1100s that I'm very fond of. And I thought, let's have a look at this and see if it can be refurbished, or at least let's find out what's wrong with it, because it's quite clearly that key needs jiggling, and so that's probably what stopped it running in the first place, I would think. After 13,000 miles in 3 years, that's fairly credible, I would think. It's obviously had a fault. So what I did was to take the switch to pieces. Now if you look at that there, if you look at those contacts, the one on the top sort of left at the 11 o'clock position is very, very dirty. In fact, they all are, but that's the worst one of the three. Now that when you turn your lock, you know, they spin round. They're copper coated. On a Japanese bike, they will be solid copper contacts, but I think they're copper plated. Obviously, with it being a Chinese bike and a budget bike, you know, it's the same on the Royal Enfields actually, and you can see there that circular disc. That's where those little spring-loaded contacts spin round. And if you look at the bottom there, you can see 3 of the contacts are burned. The middle one of the 3 at the bottom of that disc there on the right-hand side is badly burned. So I then got out the Deoxit, which is an amazing product. It's only a little tin. It's tiny, really. 142ml, 25 quid for that. But it really is good stuff. You just spray it on, it fizzes, and it takes all that green and, you know, oxide off contacts on wiring harnesses. So I did the full wiring harness on the bike actually, undid every single block terminal and sprayed Deoxit on. You don't need much and it lasts a long time, but it's not cheap, but it is really good. And then I got some fine emery paper, you know, sandpaper, and sanded the contacts on the disc. As you can see, they're a lot cleaner now. And I also gave a very light sand and Deoxit and a brush on the actual copper plated contacts that spin round. So that is quite clearly the issue. Mechanically, an ignition barrel switch like that, which is easy to take apart, you don't have to prise any metal tabs or anything, it's just 2 screws and it will come apart. So it is actually serviceable. You know, it's tempting to say, well, I'll just pay 30 quid and, you know, get a lock set. Yes. And you do, the benefit of that is I suppose you get the same keys, you know, if you've ever lost one or whatever. But I didn't need to do that. So that's the actual little copper plated contacts after Deoxit and a bit of a scrub with an old toothbrush. And then the actual lock mechanism itself benefits from, it's not near the contacts, you put grease on it, so you don't actually put the grease near the electrical contacts, obviously, and when you put your key in, then it's a, you know, nice sort of smooth action, as it were. So I then did all of the rest of the wiring harness, as I say, and put the lock back together. And this shot here shows the actual grease. So that's the sort of mechanical bit, if you see what I mean. That grease doesn't come anywhere near the contacts. It's compartmentalised, as it were, into the lower half of the switch. And as I say, I've done several of these. I think when you're doing a bike and getting it going, you know, you're better off trying to save money here and there if you can, whilst doing it properly. I can't do a naff job on something, so here it is. Okay, so I've refurbed the ignition switch, took it to pieces, as you saw from the photos, sandpaper the contacts, used Deoxit on it. Bear in mind, this was a completely dead bike when I picked it up, and now, look at that. So it's done 13,000 miles, or is that kilometres? Miles. Got a clock on it too, I'll have to figure that out. Fuel gauge. So that's cured that. I'm very pleased to have stripped that. I've done them in the past, you know, on bikes when it's difficult to get a lock. But it saved 30 quid, you know, buying a lock kit. So there it is, it's perfect. So there you have it, pot pickers, not half. It's electrically now going. So I don't like having 2 projects on the go at once. So what I want to do is get the diversion pipes back on. I've sprayed them and they're going to go back. I'm just waiting for a couple of exhaust can hangers to arrive in the post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up the diversion 600 project and get the pipes back on so I can use it because it's so nice to use. And I'll do a few picks and you know, a before and after photo and say there you go, and then I'm going to do the video series on this one. So on a positive note, electrical power, I haven't tried to start it because I'm waiting for a new battery, a proper battery that is the right size and everything, and one step at a time. I'm not rushing it, and so I'll detail it in a forthcoming videos. If you're interested, you can watch it. If you're not interested, then don't. So in the meantime, I hope that might help some people who've maybe got a dead Lexmoto, or indeed a Royal Enfield, because it's exactly the same principle. And I will post again very soon. In the meantime, take care on your own bikes, and I'll post soon. Bye for now.